Value the relationships you are building with your colleagues, while keep in mind that listening as a leader carries deeper implications and requires intentional application of intercultural competencies. I come to you all as someone that has just wrapped up her first year in leadership, and so I hope I can offer some advice for those new to leadership and perhaps some insight into those who may be supporting new leaders. So I'll start by sharing the pearl. So my pearl is value the relationships you are building with your colleagues while keeping in mind that listening as a leader carries deeper implications and requires intentional application of intercultural competencies. I know that's a mouthful, but you'll get it once I explain. Because I felt connected, I felt safe. Because I felt safe, I explored. Because I explored, I learned. I heard this statement at a conference on well-being, and it really resonated with me. So when I set out in my new role last year, I was determined to be that kind of leader, an affiliative one that proactively contributed to creating a culture of belonging and dignity. I especially wanted to support my colleagues so that they could feel safe to explore and learn, and in turn, positively impact our students' learning and well-being. So I tried to be visible and present. I welcomed teachers as best as I could, even creating a mindfulness corner in my office for teachers to distress, complete with a selection of tea and even a mini rock garden. I hoped that teachers would come in and tell me about their day, share the milestones their students were achieving, their beliefs about education, and ultimately their hopes and dreams about how we can better support our students. And they did come. Some were lighthearted and short conversations, while others ended up being long discussions about pedagogy or student support. Like Robin Chapel, I truly did my best to listen deeply, with my heart and mind open to being changed. However, I quickly learned that listening as a friend and as a fellow colleague is not the same as listening as a leader. So here are 5 lessons I've learned on what it means to listen as a leader, with a particular focus on intercultural competencies. Number 1, set boundaries and consider to what extent you can realistically support the people who come to you. I was eager and I wanted to help in any way that I could, but I didn't set clear parameters. I ended up on several intensive committees, even stepping in as a head of department at one point, while still teaching a half load. I knew that I needed to refocus my energy in order to be an effective and productive leader. Number 2, be careful that empathy or even curiosity is not misconstrued as agreement. Once when I said, "That's an interesting idea and sounds like it would help build service into the curriculum. We'll need to find out more what the community project entails." From my mind, I meant, let's research it more before coming to a decision. But that teacher walked out of that conversation, went straight to the MYP coordinator and said, "The middle school assistant principal agrees with my idea and wants to move forward with the community project." Number 3, whether you want it to be that way or not, with a title comes the perception of power. It's important that in every conversation you're having, even casual ones, you recognize how your comments might be perceived from the lens of a power dynamic. For some of my colleagues, they needed to feel safe first in order to feel connected. Perceptions about power dynamics presented itself around conversations involving confidentiality and transparency. And depending on how I responded, it either challenged or affirmed the us versus them perception. Number 4, connected to that point, be aware of varying styles of conflict and understand how the person on the receiving end might respond to feedback depending on their cultural background, experiences, and perspectives. There are bound to be miscommunications and conflicts, but it's helpful to identify the conflict style and match that with the appropriate leadership style. So for example, if someone self-identifies as direct and emotionally expressive, engagement style, they might benefit from conversations that lean towards coaching in nature. Mitchell Hammer has a helpful tool called the Intercultural Conflict Style Inventory that might be helpful in navigating some of those difficult conversations. Lastly, listen with the mindset that every conversation has the potential to be transformative. for both the person you're talking to and for the school. In Japanese, there's an expression, ichigo ichie, often translated as once in a lifetime. And it refers to the need to treasure each moment because it can have a lasting impact on a person, positive or negative. Words have power, and what you say or perhaps don't say can have a long-term impact on a person or even the buy-in of an initiative. Like we saw in the game, a single interaction can either be the catalyst that propels change or a misstep that requires us to take a few steps back. So, again, my pearl is, value the relationships you are building with your colleagues, while keep in mind that listening as a leader carries deeper implications and requires intentional application of intercultural competencies.